Heyo, everybody. How's it going? I am Tim here tonight with Lance. We are rocking and rolling on our private investigations for the missing live fundraiser tonight. It is February 1st, 2023. Lance, what's going on?
I am looking at our Crawlspace podcast YouTube channel, and it does look like we are up and running. So
Fantastic.
We are exactly 2 minutes early, 1 minute early now. So let's make this happen. Let's raise some money for a good cause.
Yes, we are back to raise some money. We did this back in November. We had a great show with several fantastic guests, and we raised a lot of money. Raised over, I think it was about $1,200 or $1,300 that night, and we are still going with this campaign. This specific campaign wraps up on February 3rd, 2023 for National Missing Persons Day. And we have been trying to raise $5,000 during this period of time for private investigations for the missing, which you can check out at investigationsforthemissing.org. And you can donate at PIFTM.org/give. But if we raise 5,000, Lance, what's going to happen?
Oh, there's Bruce.
It's Bruce. Well, Lance is going to have to get a tattoo is what's
yes.
going to
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I was actually, so we are working with this new platform, Riverside, and I hit the drum roll for that. There it is.
Oh, there it is.
That was why I paused. I hit the drum roll, but Bruce joined at the same time, so they kind of crossed over and it never played. Yes, we're going to raise $5,000, and I'm going to get a tattoo of the private investigations for the missing logo on my body. Tim, you had asked me a little while ago about where I was going to get it, and I was thinking the leg, but then I was thinking maybe not the leg. Maybe I'll get it on the back of the shoulder. That might be nice back there too.
How about the eyeball?
I'm gonna get it on both eyeballs.
All right, how's it going? Aaron and Bruce have joined.
And
Can you hear us?
We got 15 people right now on the YouTube channel. So quick hello to Shannon, Michelle, Jason, who are chatting right now.
How's it going, everybody?
Give them a round of applause.
It's Bruce and Aaron DeRosiers, and Bruce Maitland is the founder of Private Investigations for the Missing. How's it going, you two?
Hey, I'm doing great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can't get my camera working, but I'm working on it. So.
Okay. Well, we're happy you're here. Your voice is paramount here tonight. So thank you for joining. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great.
Good.
It's an hour past my bedtime on a weekday night, but I'm still here. You know?
Same.
I just woke up 5 hours ago, so I got a long way to go. Oh my goodness, it's Mackenzie.
I need to be off here. I'm too early.
I thought isn't there like a waiting room?
I thought there was
a waiting room. I wanted to be early and in the waiting room.
All of our guests are joining all of a sudden.
You can't see. Feel free to pop back out if you like, Mackenzie. We can. Okay, thank you. We'll work on this waiting room. Yeah,
it's complete madness right now. We're still getting used to this platform.
I kind of love it. I kind of love the madness. It's okay.
All right. Well, Aaron, you are affiliated with Private Investigations for the Missing, and you came on last time to tell us where we were in our quest to raise money for Private Investigations for the Missing. Of course, you can find more information about them at investigationsforthemissing.org. Aaron, where are we at on this fundraiser?
So between all of the different fundraising areas, which is we have a campaign page that has money that people donated directly to. We have donations that come in directly through our website and check donations. And then John Lorden has also been collecting donations for us through his YouTube channel.
He's just sliding those donations right into his own pocket.
He is not. Do not believe that.
Right.
Between all of those things and a couple of donations that just came in right before we went on, we're at about $4,700. So we are very close.
Wow.
Whoa.
Tattoo.
Slow down, everybody.
Yeah, let's not jump the gun. We want to milk this for as long as we can here tonight. And but no, actually, seriously, please donate as much as you can right now, whatever's comfortable for you. It's PIFTM.org/give, and we'll this money is going to a very, very good cause. If you haven't heard about private investigations for the missing, you really got to check them out. Bruce, can you tell us a little bit about this nonprofit?
Sure. I mean, it basically we formed it, as you guys know, and everybody on it is, to help families that have missing people, and their loved ones are missing, and for the most part, none of them can afford to hire a private investigator, and so they've turned to us, and we furnish that investigator, and we furnish a lot of background source for that investigator and a lot of behind the scenes work. So that we can help these families out and find their loved ones. And we do that thanks to a great group of volunteers for the most part that enables us to take probably 98% of our donations actually go toward the investigation, go towards, in the course of that investigation, kind of to break it down. I mean, we have some search sites and things like that are paid services that we have to pay for background checks and various things like that, and the rest goes towards investigator expenses. The investigators themselves, a lot of them are they donate also part of their time, their office time, and some of the research time, and we pay them for their expenses, and we pay them for their field work out in time that they spend out doing interviews and things like that they need to be paid for, because most of them are, they've got to make a living too, and they volunteered to help us and we've expanded to, I mean, gosh, we have stuff going all over the country now.
It's really remarkable because there are all of these elements that have to come together in order for an independent investigation to take place when looking into a cold case or a missing person. Someone who's been missing for several years, somebody who's off the radar of regular law enforcement. And we know about Othram Labs, the DNA technology that they have, and we know many companies that perform ground penetrating radar. So those are two, I guess, arms of investigating, and this one is also a necessary arm of investigating that not a lot of people have considered the expense that goes into it. Because I don't know if there's like a romantic notion about PIs just kind of being self-sufficient, but they do need, well, Greg Overacker doesn't need anything. We've discussed his lunch choices, but there is a need for that because there needs to be somebody who's doing interviews. Bruce, you said doing interviews, and that's not like media interviews. I think that's where my brain goes when I hear interviews. But these are interviews with family members and people who knew the person who's missing and people who might be involved in it. So this is like really in the trenches type work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like you just mentioned, I mean, some of these interviews could possibly be dangerous interviews. Where they're talking to people that could be involved. And there's a tremendous amount of background work too before they even get to the interview process. And thanks to some of our, thanks to Lou and some other people like that do kind of the background and reach out to law enforcement and kind of work with law enforcement when they're willing to work with us, and kind of makes it a kind of a cohesive investigation that goes on, and every case is just different. It's just different tactics and different approaches have to be done to every single case that seems to come across that we work on.
Absolutely. And this nonprofit is very close to all of our hearts, really, but obviously very close to Bruce. And thank you for joining tonight, Bruce. We want to mention that we do have some books that are available tonight for giveaway. And we're actually going to raffle them off when we receive donations tonight. Lance, how many books do we have? 12 books to raffle off?
Oh my goodness. We have 14 books to raffle off. We have 14 books to raffle off. We have 5 books we have 10 books from LaDonna Humphrey.
Very cool. LaDonna Humphrey is going to be joining us a little bit later.
Yes.
She is an author and a private investigator. And she's written 2 books, and she's graciously donated 5 of each of them to the cause here tonight.
Yes. And Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong. We discussed this is how it's going to work. Anybody who donates tonight in this hour plus period will be eligible to receive one of those books. So it'll be a random raffle drawing, and we will pick names, and whoever is picked will receive one of these books. Now, LaDonna Humphrey has graciously donated 5 copies of her book Strangled and 5 copies of her book The Girl I Never Knew. And The Girl I Never Knew is about the murder of Melissa Witt. And
I'm staying
You're
quiet.
back.
I'm staying quiet. It's my time, but I'm staying quiet.
Mortified. That's amazing. Okay. So that's I can't. I thought there was a waiting room.
There's no waiting room. You put my name in, you're just
We already went over this.
ask me how I know twice.
Oh my goodness.
Come in. Yes.
So funny. Okay, so I'm gonna back it up a little bit. LaDonna Humphrey wrote the Girl I Never Knew, about the murder. Oh my God.
We will introduce our new guests in just a moment.
Just a moment. So yes, the opportunity to receive a book from LaDonna Humphrey is very if you donate during this time period, you'll be entered into the raffle. We'll pick the name later on, and you can receive one of those books, Strangled or The Girl I Never Knew, about the murder of Melissa Witt. Amazing books, by the way. Also, our good friend Patrick Hines has written a book. It's called Failure is Not an Option. And he has generously donated 4 copies signed. They'll be coming out in September. So once those are available, they will be entered into the raffle as well. And Aaron, you and I ended up meeting up at his reading that he did in Boston, Laugh Boston. And if the rest of the book is as amazing as the chapter he read, then this is a Nobel Prize winning book.
I was just going to say that if 50% more of the book is as good as the chapter we heard on Monday night, it is worth it. It is worth the donation for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. And he's the only person I've ever heard for several months before the book is out. There's not even a cover available online that I've seen at this point.
Yeah, he's just ready to read it.
Making sure he sells those books.
he's so energetic and puts on such a great show. So he's touring already for this book. This book is going to be amazing. So yes, if you donate in the next 90 minutes, your name will be entered into a raffle, and we will pull it out at random, and you may win one of these 14 books that have been donated here tonight. Two of them have been written by LaDonna Humphrey and one by Patrick Hines. All right, everyone, let's see what we can do.
Who's keeping track of this? Aaron, are you keeping track of this? Mortified, Marnie, are you guys keeping track of this?
Yes, I am keeping
yeah,
track.
we were writing it all down.
They are. Yes,
Well,
they're writing it
I'm
down.
still
In the
mortified.
green room that doesn't exist, they'll be writing down.
I swear we did. Didn't we do this live a couple days ago? And there was like we had to let people in.
What do you
I
think
don't
we
know.
did? Do you think we bypassed something, that we're some kind of criminal minds and we were able to force our way into this? Or do you think we put our names in and thank you for the laugh, and just popped in here twice?
Why does every conversation we have start off so awkward?
So
Maybe it's us. We're the common denominator with that.
Well,
Wow. So anyway,
Well,
who is
yes.
keeping track of this, Aaron? Aaron, I'll
Yes.
rephrase it. Aaron, are you keeping track of this?
Yes, myself and Jillian and Susan will be helping to keep track of everybody that donates tonight. We will
Great.
then raffle off or pull names from those that donate in the next 90 minutes, and then we will contact people for address information.
Okay.
great. And you can go to piftm.org/give to donate. Yes, Bruce. Were you about to talk? Oh, sorry. I thought I cut you off.
No, I was just fooling around trying to get a video on me there. So
Oh, okay. Okay, well, let's welcome our new guests, Mortified and Marnie of Moms and Mysteries. How's it going tonight, you two?
So happy to be here. So happy I came twice.
We couldn't hear you over the applause.
No, that's probably good. It ended up coming out way more awkward than I meant it to. So if we could move on from there, that'd be great. How are you?
We're doing great. Yeah, we're really in our element here tonight on this live show. We're very excited. We've got sound effects to play with. That's period.
it.
That is
We're
the key
excited.
here.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a swing and a miss. Who knows? Do I get one?
Oh, I wish we had a swing and a miss sound.
Yeah, that's what you need.
We're a little
Crickets,
limited.
anything like that.
Till
We'll
we
add
figure
some
out how
more.
to upload our own. Yeah.
Yeah, once we figure out the waiting room, we'll figure out some more
Baby
sound
steps.
effects. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, okay, Mandy and Melissa, how are you two? What is going on? Tell us about you. Tell us about your show.
Well, we have a show that's run very well. It's very well organized. We don't do live things because, as you can see, we do a great job when we're involved in live things. My face is turning red, and I think it's going into my neck. So Mandy's very used to this with me. But do you regret how early you brought us on in this?
Not for a minute.
What are your regrets? Would
No
you like to
regrets.
listen?
No regrets. No, we don't feel
Can you
any
get
shame.
that tattoo? No regrets and spell it wrong. Will you do that?
No
one?
regrets.
No regrets.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
If we raise $30,000 tonight, I'll get a tattoo that says no regrets.
I feel like you're moving the goalposts there. You're
Well, different tattoo.
fine. So a
Mhm.
bonus one. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're doing good. We've changed our name to Moms and Mysteries in the new year. It's going well. Most people don't seem confused. Some are, and some are vocal, but that's okay.
Whoa.
But we're doing well.
What do they say?
Yeah.
Who's?
Threats.
What are their names? What are their
Threats.
handles?
Some
And what
people
do
are
they
upset.
say?
Yeah,
We don't
I
know
mean,
their
not really. Just
handles.
we think any kind of negative comments, we take it very personally. So we're living in that right now. Mandy, please talk. Every time I open my mouth, I regret what I say.
You regret what you say.
No,
You're
There,
doing great though.
give
yeah.
yourself the drums. Okay. The delay makes it so much better.
Doesn't it?
Oh goodness. Yeah. So we're doing well. Mandy, we had some updates on the Jared Bridegan story, which is something that we covered with you guys. Can I throw it to Mandy for her to do the serious part? There you go, Mandy.
Sure.
All right, yeah. So as Melissa said, we have been talking about the Jared Brightigan story a lot on our own podcast. We've been really involved and really invested in that case, and have kind of been working together with Kirsten Brightigan. And so for those who don't know the story of Jared Brightigan, he was a 33-year-old father of 4 from the Jacksonville, Florida area. And he had 2 daughters with his second wife, Kirsten, and a set of twins with his first wife, who was named Shanna. And even though the divorce and custody battle with his ex-wife was pretty contentious, Jared really made every effort that he could to see his twins as much as possible. And every Wednesday, that meant that he would go pick up his twins from his ex-wife's house and take them out for a fun night. He would take his younger daughter, Bexley, with them so that they could all spend time together. And that's what they were doing on the night that Jared was gunned down. It was almost a year ago, actually. Now it was on February 16th of 2022. And he had just dropped the twins off back at his ex-wife's home, and he was driving home with his 2-year-old daughter, Bexley, in the backseat of his car when he stopped in the middle of the road because there was a tire there, and he couldn't really go around it. So he kind of had to stop and investigate at least and see what was going on. And when he got out of his car, he was immediately ambushed and shot to death while his 2-year-old daughter sat in the back seat in her car seat. So the case is still very much under investigation, but there was, as Melissa said, a really, really big update just last week. They actually arrested somebody that they believe is the man who shot Jared Brightigan, and it's somebody who wasn't previously known to the family. So of course, that's always a little bit of a shock when you hear a name that you really weren't expecting because you've never heard of this person before. But it was a man named Henry Tenon, and he has a pretty long rap sheet. But he was ultimately charged with conspiracy to commit murder, second-degree murder with a weapon, accessory after the fact to a capital felony, and child abuse. And the police have really made it just abundantly clear that they know he did not act alone and that it wasn't just a random killing. And they believe that there was a conspiracy to commit this terrible, terrible murder. But so far, nobody else has been arrested. But since Tenon's arrest last week, it has been discovered that he does, in fact, have a connection to Jared's ex-wife, Shanna, and her new husband, who's named Mario Fernandez. He actually, Tenon, rented a house from Mario, and some sources say that he actually did work for him as well. Mario managed lots of rental properties, and Tenon's roommate says that Tenon was a regular contractor for him. So it seems like there was a pretty strong connection there. But as we said, no other arrests have been made yet, but we're really hopeful that they have made some big strides in this case and that we're just a lot closer to them having justice.
Wow. Yeah. Such a great update in that case.
Great update for like a really tragic moment in all of their lives. We put in the YouTube chat the link to the Brightigan Foundation, and Kirsten has invented out of, I mean, I don't want to say out of like necessity, but just out of like knowing what her daughter, it's so awful to think about, like what her daughter went through that day, seeing her dad like gunned down, like having no comprehension of what that is. And then I really feel for the people, like the police officers at the station. They're trying to figure out how to handle this crime, and they're trying to figure out what to do with this poor child. So if you can explain, and hello, Rebecca.
Hi, everyone.
So we're still trying to figure out the waiting room. Apparently,
Got it.
There's no waiting room tonight.
No waiting room.
No.
Yeah. So, can you explain, either Mortified or Marnie, can you explain what the Bexley box is?
Yes, Mortified will take this one. So the Bexley box is really a box of necessities and comfort items that that Kirsten kind of put together to deliver to police departments, along with some cards for police officers that, keep in mind they're going to these crime scenes to look into these crimes, and then there's a kid there, so then it's just kind of how to talk to the kid, ways to make the kid comfortable. And so these boxes are being delivered to police departments. The goal is across the country, that have things like sippy cups and diapers and little comfort things and the pop sock things that kids play with, anything to help relieve anxiety and give the police something to give to these kids who are there of no fault of their own. And there's obviously witnessed something or something traumatic has gone on in their life for them to be there. So she's worked to put that together. And I know we're here for PI for the Missing, so I appreciate you putting the link in the notes. If you guys ever want to look into that, Mandy and I are going tomorrow to a police station here locally, and we're delivering our first box, and we're so excited. And the police station is already so excited to, get this stuff, just stuff that you don't really think of. But like Kirsten said, when she got to the police department, they didn't have diapers. They didn't have any of those things at a moment's notice that a kid could really need. So she's incredible. We've said this a million times, but she's our hero. And we just are excited to be involved with Bex's Box.
Well, it's an amazing cause. Yes. Thank you for sharing here tonight. We really appreciate that. And we are now being joined by Rebecca. What's going on, Rebecca?
Not much. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good. I just want to say, if Erin and Mandy and Melissa from Moms and Murder, feel free to jump off now. You have fulfilled your obligations here tonight as far as we're concerned.
Rebecca, you're going to be awesome. Good luck. No pressure. Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thank you
you
very much. And Bruce, the same goes for you. If you're around later, I know it is past your bedtime, but it is up to you. For the record, you can hang out here all night if you want.
I'm going to hang out for as long as I'm awake. And if I go to sleep, you'll never know.
I don't know if you're a snorer or not, but just pop that on mute and we'll never know. We'll just assume it's your internet.
I'm told I talk in my sleep, so just ignore everything I say that doesn't make any sense.
That's a little incoherent. Gotcha.
Rebecca.
Real quick. So sorry. Real quick before we start with that, Mandy and Melissa said that they appreciated the fact that even though this is for private investigations for the missing, that we mentioned the Bridegan Foundation. Hey, it's all one and the same. If you're giving $5 to private investigations for the missing, consider contributing something to the Bridegan Foundation, or at least reaching out. It's all one and the same.
Absolutely.
True. It's almost kind of gives you an extended family type feeling when you're dealing talking with people. Yeah. You bet.
Yeah, sure does. Well, Rebecca, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. Just hanging out with you guys.
And Rebecca hosts a fantastic show called Criminology and Coffee, and we had her on as a guest this Monday on Crawlspace in a recorded interview that has not been made public yet. It was a great conversation. It will be coming to the Crawlspace airwaves soon. But Rebecca is a TikTok megastar. I think that's fair to say at this point. So go follow her on TikTok, but also on YouTube as well. And I'll pop the link here to your link tree right in this to the chat here, so everyone can follow all your links there.
Oh, very cool. Thank you.
Yes. So how are you tonight?
I am good. So I come presented with a case as well. But I wanted to talk about Liz Barraza. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit. The case is super near and dear to me. Her family is so awesome. You guys ready to hear it?
Sure.
Absolutely.
So Liz was 29 years old. She was living in Tomball, Texas, which I think is near Houston. But she, in January of 2019, was setting up for a garage sale right outside of her home, and her murder was caught on a Ring camera. So a black Nissan truck pulled up to her house. The driver greets her, gets out of their vehicle, and then shot her 4 times, point-blank range, with a revolver. And then the individual gets back in their truck, drives away, circles back in what seems to be an attempt to make sure that she was actually deceased. And that's the end of what her family knows. Even though it was caught on video, you can't really tell who it is. The investigators have come out and said that it looks like the person might be wearing a disguise. So they have longer hair in the video, but it actually looks like it might be a male who's dressed up to look like a female. But other than that, like, no suspects have been named, and there's a $50,000 reward in the case. And unfortunately, there's just nothing.
You seem to have struck a bit of a chord with the people who are tuning in on YouTube and chatting. Shannon said she remembers hearing about this, and Luciana says that the case is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You said something to us when we had spoken earlier a couple days ago that you are super aware and hyper conscious of family members and making sure that whatever story you're telling is something that the family would be aware of and supportive of. What's your interaction with anybody connected to this one?
So I got to speak with Liz's parents, Bob and Rosemary, a few times now. So I always, whenever I interact with a victim's family member, they send me usually an email that's pretty cut and dry, and I always respond back and say, cool, but like, tell me about your family member. So they said it was like one of the first times they got asked kind of questions like that, but they told me all about how Liz was a really big nerd. Basically, she was really into Harry Potter. She cosplayed Star Wars stuff with like the 501st Legion. She was a really big Disney nerd. Actually, when she was murdered, the day she was murdered, her and her husband were having the garage sale to plan to go to Disney for their 5-year anniversary. So she had like a huge community of people around her. Her family's done a bunch of really cool stuff. They have a website. It's whokilledlizbarraza.com. But her parents have made like merch for her, and they have like challenge coins that have Star Wars characters on them and Harry Potter stuff, and it's really cool. Like we kind of talked about, I always try to figure out who a person was and relate to them on some level. Yeah, her family is incredible.
Your feelings on Harry Potter? Do you feel like that's dorky, nerdy?
I am 30 years old, so I grew up in prime Harry Potter heyday. Mm-hmm. I definitely judge people based on their houses, if that answers it.
Okay, what house are you in?
Ravenclaw, obviously.
Oh, okay. I'm Gryffindor. Duh.
Yeah.
Naturally.
No
Lance is Slytherin.
Okay, that sounds cool.
He's super Slytherin.
Oh man.
I have t-shirts that say super Slytherin.
That's what your tattoo. You can get a tattoo. Everyone.
Okay. If we raise $50,000, I'll get a tattoo that says super Slytherin. Now, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that Harry
me.
Potter's gone from nerdy to cool, but go ahead. It's not important.
So we invite our guests on and we say, you can come on, you can talk about whatever you would like. You can talk about a passion case. And we so appreciate you coming on and talking about a passion case that you have, going on right now that you're looking into, because again, all of this is part of the greater good. It's part of the greater whole, even though it's divided up into 10-minute chunks or whatever, 12-minute chunks. Right now, you're saying this, people are hearing it, and it's all part of the greater good. So we really appreciate you coming on to talk about this, and we really appreciate the fact that you're like our new best friend, because we didn't know you before we spoke, and you were so willing to say, yeah, okay, I'll do an interview, and oh, you're doing this? I'll hop on to do this too. So fantastic. And what drives you?
Honestly, a lot of it just it's so like cliche and dumb, but a lot of it comes down to the fact that if something were to happen like to my children, I really hope that they're treated kindly and their stories would be treated kindly and people would be empathetic towards their family, or if something happened to me, God forbid, I would hate for people. I really hope that treated kindly, and their stories would be treated kindly, and people would be
Hello.
empathetic towards
Yeah, we
Sorry.
don't have a green room.
something happened
Sorry.
to them.
Sorry.
Like,
Sorry.
I was having such a good time in the green room that I was late, so I'm sorry. But the snacks,
I'll have access
setup.
to the room. Very cool, guys. Cool.
sorry, Rebecca. Yeah, this we expected to have a little more organization when a guest was popping in here tonight. We're trying out a new program that we love, by the way, working out really well, but which is a little more fluid than I guess we expected. But it's all good. We roll with it here on live shows. So Rebecca, meet Chris Walker. Chris Walker, meet Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca. It's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I didn't want to step on the you're talking about the people involved, and it's just, that this whole cause just really, it speaks to me. I'm so glad you guys invited me to join here, because what a fantastic thing to be doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for agreeing to do it. And
Yeah.
Rebecca, do you know Chris Walker?
I do not know Chris Walker.
Maybe Chris could give a little sample of who he is. Maybe a little voice sample.
On February 1st in Washington, D.C.,
I know who Chris Walker is.
Chris Walker was stuck in the green room for hours. He couldn't find his way out.
Of course, Chris Walker is the voice of Disappeared. He narrates the television show Disappeared. Welcome to the show, Chris. We recently met Chris at Obsessed Fest 2022 and had an amazing time there and with Chris. And really, actually, we met in the green room just talking about cases, and we had a great time. Yeah, it was real.
Absolutely.
It was a physical green room.
And I got to hear some of Patrick's book at Obsessed Fest as well. So we know he's written at least one chapter, even though he's already celebrating around.
He's already doing a victory lap.
Yeah. But
Aaron and I
builds
can
in a
attest-
deadline. He has to get it done.
Aaron and I can attest to 2 chapters, because I think the one that he did in Boston was chapter 2.
Okay.
So at least 2 chapters. He has until I think September is when the date that it's due out.
I believe so.
Yeah. So yes, this is moving along at a crazy pace, and it's amazing. Feel free to I would like nothing more than to have all the guests on this screen at the same time and just see if we break Riverside.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am going to hop out and allow you guys to continue, and I'm going to pop into the YouTube instead.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
make sure before you leave, if you're on the YouTube, you can leave your links to people who to get to your show and everything. And is there anything else that you want to parting words?
Thank you guys so much for having me on. Everything that you're doing is incredible. Thanks for being my new best friends. And stay tuned.
Well, thank you. We love being your new best friend. Yes, and we needed that. Thank you so much. Bye. All right.
So great.
This is great. And this is a good reminder. If anyone has some spare change in their pockets, why don't you just toggle your butt on over to PIFTM.org/give and donate to private investigations for the missing. It is a great cause, and we will have an update on tonight's fundraiser coming up next. And Erin, don't you dare join until we say.
We give the go ahead until Chris Walker's done talking, and that.
I mean, whatever. I'll feel bad if I don't have like 3 people show up, because I've been watching. So I don't, several people to show up while we're midstream on something. I hope.
Well, Erin, you're free to do whatever you want. I'm sure you knew that anyway. It's just fun to say, "Don't you dare!"
Because once she does, oh, look out.
Chris Walker, how are you?
I am doing all right. I am fighting off something. I don't know if it's the dreaded COVID or what it is, but I was in Austin meeting with lots of people who make documentary and reality TV, and catching up with a lot of the people who work for ID and who work for Oxygen. And just getting a feel for what's going on over there. And there were, they're putting a lot of attention on true crime in the conference, in some of the seminars, and there's been a lot of shout outs to the podcasting community, both as a place where they're looking to find out about cases that they should be, getting involved in, and incorporating the work that people are doing in this field into the work that they're doing. So it was heartening.
Yeah, that is really cool. And it's heartening is a great word to use. It is heartening to know that this industry that broadcasts true crime stories actually cares. And when you came on our show, well, when we met you and we had a conversation before we knew that you were Chris Walker from Disappeared, we were having conversations about advocacy, and we were having conversations about cases, and you were just speaking on our level. And then we had you on the show, and you brought some of these stories to the episode that you were on, and it was amazing because we had never explored those cases before.
And
then yeah, go ahead.
I've been revisiting so much of the work that we've done on Disappeared. That was a really weird way to say that. On Disappeared, because of Obsessed with Disappeared over on the Obsessed Network, which is now called I Think Not, because they sort of ran out of our cases to cover for now. But revisiting because of that, and I was revisiting a bunch because you guys were inviting me on, and that experience has really sort of dialed in for me how important what we're talking about tonight is, because there's so many of these cases where whether it's a lack of resources from the local investigators, the local police, or whatever other reasons that people just need this resource, and you just see the way that sort of attention, media attention sometimes starts to wane and other resources go away. So I think, when you guys asked me to do this, I was like, yeah, this is something that people really, really need. And I think Disappeared really focuses a lot on, like Rebecca was saying, like really trying to have a focus on what the person's life was or is, and what the family's lives are like. And so putting that attention on the missing, and I think that something like this is fantastic for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so important telling stories about the victims, the people who are missing. And again, I just want to reiterate that private investigations for the missing, this fundraiser, these funds that are being raised, they basically go directly towards private investigators who are using their own time pro bono, and they're just getting paid back for expenses. So each private investigator who is working a case for private investigations for the missing is assigned that case. They speak with the family, and they do interviews. Like Bruce said, they do sometimes hard-hitting stuff too. And a lot of this stuff is done behind the scenes. We're never going to broadcast a lot of this stuff, unfortunately. We broadcast what we can. But just so you know, the money that you donate here tonight is going to help families, and it's going to pay back private investigators for the work that they did pro bono. And
as far as trying to get things in by the 3rd, in terms of the tattoo deadline, the ever important tattoo deadline. But then also, I mean, people should donate whenever. Continue, beyond that point to come back here and look at this. And
absolutely,
what a good cause.
Yeah, and I think whenever we speak with you, you always bring up the families of the individuals who are missing, and that goes into like the community as well. And when a family has a family member or somebody in a family is missing, and it just drops off of the priority list in law enforcement for whatever reason, that has a really significant impact, because it's not just one. It has a really significant impact in the community, because that just becomes like a statement about priorities that may or may not be applicable to whatever situation, but from afar, it looks like, okay, this is a marginalized community, and obviously law enforcement doesn't care, even though that might not be the case whatsoever. So when you're saying, it's great to have a gimmick like, hey, I'll get a tattoo if we reach $5,000. That's fun and it's gimmicky, and I don't mind doing it. But give whenever you think you should give. If it's $5, give $5 on a Tuesday for no reason other than like you thought of it and you have $5 you can give, because
Absolutely.
it is about families, but it's also about like a long scope message that you want to be, I don't know, that you want to send, and you want to make sure that communities know that everybody wants to build up a community, to make sure that these attitudes and these everyone has to support each other, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And it's not about like a simple gimmicky tattoo. It's about just motivating people to do this whenever you think about it.
But please help us get that gimmicky tattoo, because I'd be very excited about that.
Yeah, we want that gimmicky tattoo for sure. We need it.
We do need it. I'm glad it hasn't gone out of control. Like, as much as I want to see the total go up to like $100,000, I know that people would be like, well, we got $100,000. Like, we got to get a full backplate on that.
Yeah.
20
Face
tattoos.
going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, private investigations for the missing has helped to resolve cases. But a big part of PIs for the Missing's mission is really providing hope to families. And, this goes back to what we've been talking about here with you, Chris, is just supporting families. And these investigations are real. Sometimes there are not going to be answers that are found by the investigators, and that's unfortunate, but that's the reality. But at least we can give those families hope for a period of time. And some of them will be resolved.
A long time. Our investigators sometimes has spent, a long time now working on a couple of years sometimes with some of these people that the investigator is still working with them. And we often hear kind of coming back from the investigators, it's like, well, this is the first time anybody's really sat from the families. It's the first time anybody's really sat down and is working totally in our interest without, and these things can evolve into sometimes pretty deep relationships between the investigators and the families. I mean, it's surprising how some of that works. But I did want to ask you, Chris, like in the shows, what is your feeling as far as, is there any like real training going on with the interviewers of the show when they're working with the families? Do they have formats that they go over them with it? Do they have like series of like kind of look at each situation and what do we talk to these families about? What's kind of the board, what kind of guidelines are they using and things like that? Have you been able to pick up on anything like that? Or
a little bit along the way. I mean, I'm really sort of the last in on the process most of the time here. But I've definitely watched the way they approach it over the years evolve, at least in terms of, what ends up in the cuts of the show. And I think, there's always been a brief from ID to be victim focused, to be focused on, in this case, the missing people. And I think that there's a certain amount where the producers are definitely working within a legal framework and knowing what they may or may not be able to disclose or talk about on the show, because of restrictions relating to what their legal department might want them to steer away from, and also in terms of active and open investigations. But I think, as we've seen the show be brought back several times, I think what it looks like to me is a greater and greater sensitivity toward the families and friends of the missing person.
Yeah, because that's an important aspect in it. And I realize, you're down to a limit. You got a lot of stuff. Some of it can make the show, and a bunch of it makes the cutting floor. And that's just the way these things work. But
Yeah, and there are things, we don't always see, I'm not privy to, and we as viewers, because in relation to this question, I'm more like a viewer. But we don't always know why certain people may be included in the show and not. And whether there was a decline to participate and whatever reasons might be behind that. So there's a real spectrum. So I think when you said it was is it sort of a case by case, it really is. I think in a way they're starting over each time with seeing what the specifics of each case are.
is there any kind of follow-up that they have, like a planned follow-up with some of these cases where, they're like,
The follow-ups that I've seen have been
based on something that may happen or just kind of following up with the families or anything like that? Or is it just one move from one missing person?
the follow-ups that I've seen have been driven by developments. So if there's a significant development in terms of knowing where the person is or what has happened, there are some that have unfortunately resulted in the death and the prosecution of the perpetrators. There's some who've been found alive. There's some who had been missing intentionally. There were a couple cases throughout the history of the show that were like that. So it's really been driven by the developments being revealed and unveiled.
Okay.
Wow, what a cool moment.
Yeah,
Seriously.
absolutely. Yeah.
What great questions and great answers.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other ones, Bruce?
Yeah.
Well, Brianna's case was covered on
Yeah.
Disappeared years ago, as you all know, and Greg in the chat room knows as well. Yeah, I think that was early, very early in the show's run.
Yeah, very early. Yeah. I mean, Bruce, what was your experience? That was a whole production, at least one production company actually producing the show ago from the current life of it, but of course it was still ID.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd kind of rather not say. I have mixed feelings about that a lot. Having got sort of the same type of from different shows or different TV interviews. I was I don't know. I'm a little jaded.
That's got to be
questions as they are, and I don't know. And part of it may be me and just my experience. So I mean, really, I hesitate to be critical of it. It is what it is. It's a TV show, and for someone that has a missing person that's possibly alive and out there,
yeah,
I think it's invaluable. And regardless of the production problems,
yeah,
someone necessarily that's not, well, I have different feelings about that. So.
I think I can't imagine having to go through that and what that experience is like, and then to go through sort of multiple media outlets.
Yeah, you
coming
kind of
at
come
you
up
about the
feeling
story.
used a little bit, in the long run. So
I imagine.
Yeah, but hey, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
You learn a lot of things on this journey, and some of it is how law enforcement really works is not how everyone thinks it works, and it just kind of goes from there.
And how the media works isn't necessarily how everyone hopes the
that's
media
right,
should
this
work.
is how the media works, and you kind of learn to you hopefully it's a little bit of a give and take sometimes. You learn a little bit to use the media, not so much in a show like Disappeared. There's not much there, but certainly with like local news and short news programs and things like that. You learn to use that to your advantage too. It's kind of a learning experience, you know.
Was part of that process what led you to this? Not tonight specifically, but creating.
The creation part of the process is kind of is interacting with other families and seeing what they're going through and all the problems and that all, yeah, that does involve somewhat is how the system really works. You learn quickly how it works. You know, if you're fortunate, you get some attention from a pretty. If you're fortunate, you get a lot of attention early on in the investigation process of how law enforcement works. But the bare cold reality, not to criticize them, is that comes to an end pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It just does. And without a huge media attention that, you know, the ones that capture national headlines and things like that, that's kind of a different. But for the average people, it ends pretty quickly, and then at their point, they're just kind of stuck, and without the means to be able to hire a private investigator, there they are. So it just came as a result of seeing the just incredible need that's out there, and
Conversations with other families and seeing what they were going through.
And stuff. You seem, you know, and you know, just watching in my own processes too, of seeing how it works, and it's like, wow, you know, if you know, who can afford to hire a private investigator and who can't? Well, probably 95% of us in this country can.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as you delve into it, you find out, you know, sometimes, particularly among, you know, a lot of certain society stratus, you know, they get no attention, zero. You know, they get a police report, the person's gone, and that's it. So yeah, the need is just became overwhelming to sit there and say, well, you know, we just can't do anything. We can't do nothing about this. We have to try something. You know.
I remember, Bruce, what you essentially told us when you decided that you wanted to start this was that you can't just do nothing because it is such a problem. And my goodness, like years later, it's still growing. The nonprofit is still growing, and it's figuring out itself. And it's like such a unique position and sort of a humbling, it's a humbling experience to be part of it, to be part of something that, you know, we were just kind of like, how do you form a board? How do you form a board for a nonprofit? How do you communicate?
You guys, huh? How's that?
Yeah, I think I'm the treasurer. I don't know.
Yep.
Well, we didn't figure you're not responsible enough to take that on yet. So there. Okay.
I am fully supportive of me not taking on the role of treasurer. But
you're in the running though.
We will mute you, Chris.
I thought I was going to get interrupted at some point.
No, I think Tim figured out the lobby.
You know what? We found the green room. There was a box. We checked the box. Okay.
But to just to finish off that thought right there, it wasn't just like trying to figure out the red tape and just the office side of putting together a nonprofit. It was like, okay, well, how do you get the right private investigators, and how do they communicate with the family members, and how do the family members get introduced to the podcast, the media end of it to come on, and then how do you keep like raising the visibility on certain missing people. And it's not something that happens in like 1 or 2 weeks or a month or 2 months. Like, this is a long-term haul that we have going on here. And this is, even though it's, you know, maybe 4 or 5 years in the works right now, you know, we're still growing. It's still growing, and it's still coming together, and all of the gears are you start to see like the gears coming together to make the entire machine move. And honestly, like it's nights like tonight, people like Chris Walker just saying like, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I join? Why wouldn't I join? Because I'm in this world and it's all part of the community.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
we all stumbled our way through it for the first couple of years, and we're still, I mean, we're still learning all the time about how we could do things better or how we could, but one of the things I will tell you, Chris, too, a lot of times in this too, is what I have found, particularly in the last 2 years, is we get a lot of requests for help from people, and sometimes it takes the bare minimum of work. I mean, it's usually a case of where, say, someone has disappeared when they're a minor, and now they're an adult. Well, they're still out there. And sometimes, one of our investigators does some bare minimum of work, gets through some databases and find out, and lo and behold, we find out, well, they've been picked up or arrested, or they've had contact with law enforcement, or they've showed up in a shelter or somewhere where things have picked up. And yeah, maybe they don't want to be reunited with their family. I mean, and that's really not something that we need to be involved in, but at least we can assure that family member that yes, that person is an adult, that person is out there alive.
Yeah.
And and the hope is someday, whatever, they'll reconnect and recontact. But sometimes it just takes a bare minimum of the work. We know sometimes in a few days or a week we can actually locate that person and where they were last showed up, and know that they're still there. So it's too bad, because that's something law enforcement could do. But then again, a crime necessarily has not committed. And then at point that time when someone's an adult and they don't want to be found, well, okay, So,
I mean, it sounds like, we want people to contribute what they can, but it sounds like what you're saying is that even a small contribution can go a long way, because
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's
Yeah, and we do need another update from Erin DeRozier's pretty soon to let us know where we're at. Again, just want to
frightened her a bit.
Sorry, Erin. There is a green room now, so you won't be just jumping right in as well. We have the control over letting you in or not.
Oh,
see, I see.
Erin's
You're knocking at the door now. Deny.
Oh, you deny her. You gave her the big red X.
Sorry, Erin. That was way too much fun. Oh my God. But I did just want to remind everyone that if you donate during this block of time, during this period of time, your name will be entered into a raffle to win one of the 14 books that we have donated, that have been donated to us tonight. Erin, she's
I'm going to give her the red X.
Erin, what's going on? Sorry.
That's okay. It says at the bottom, the host has declined. It's very very brutal. You were
brutal.
But the audience wanted you back, which was clear from their response.
Yes. Well, Erin, tell us where we're at on the fundraiser.
All right. So with everything totaled right now, I have $5,215.
Whoa! We did it.
I think both Tim and I are going. Tim and I cancel each other out with the sound.
We're both pressing the sound effects. Everyone's very excited.
Very excited.
Yeah, there's a whole studio back there.
Please calm down.
They're not.
Take
Guys,
your seats.
calm down.
Take your seats.
They can't.
Calm down.
They can't even calm down. What?
Oh, they stopped very abruptly.
That was abrupt. Okay.
Wow.
They said Riverside
That's the
FM.
kind of command that I have.
Yeah, seriously. Chris says calm down and they just stop. Wow.
Well,
Oh my God. Give
Yes.
that total again.
$5,215.
Wow. All right.
Fantastic.
Lance
I can't
is
wait till
getting
we
a new
reach that.
tattoo.
We gotta reach that goal of 7,000 for the new tattoo, people.
Shannon just said in the chat that Lance better toggle his butt over to the tattoo parlor.
I will. You know, I really wanted to do this whole thing where I would go and get the stencil, and then he wasn't around for a little while. I don't know if he gets sick, but then I was thinking like, well, what if I don't want it in that area and he's going to shave that area of my body? And then we're like, that doesn't look good there. And then I have this like shaved spot on my body, and then we try another spot. So I'm glad that we reached the goal. This will happen and we will document it, but I don't know why I'm starting to talk about shaving my body. I'm going to mute myself. This is not appropriate.
Well, that is something to look forward to. Again, this night is not over. If you want to be entered into this raffle for one of these free books, please donate now, and your name will be thrown into the hat. So thank you so much, Chris Walker, for hanging out with us here tonight and joining and supporting our cause, and we really appreciate it. You and everything you do, we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everybody. You too.
Yeah, good conversation right there.
Yeah, that was a great conversation. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go back to the green room. Is that what I do?
There's a lot of drugs in there. After you get off the show, that's when you stock it with drugs.
No,
Thank
seriously,
you, Chris.
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
We
thank you.
appreciate
Good
it.
work. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. You too.
And we do have
I somehow leave.
Hey!
Nothing.
And we do have author LaDonna Humphrey waiting in the green room. Let's let her on in. LaDonna, come on in. Come on down. It's LaDonna Humphrey, author of Strangled and The Girl I Never Knew. How are you, LaDonna? I'm doing my Bob Barker. How's it going, LaDonna?
It's good. Trying to get over. Is there a green room or is there not a green room? Okay.
You were in the green room. Yeah, you were the first one. Was it green?
Right. No.
Okay.
No, it was lonely too, and I'm late because I didn't know what to do.
Did you know I was doing my Bob Barker with the pen? Did you remember how he has that little
skinny microphone?
Real skinny microphone. That was my impression of. Anyway, LaDonna Humphrey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate your presence. Yeah.
Thank you.
And
I'm
your
glad to be here.
And your presence.
Your book and your presence.
Yes, it's a great cause. I'd like to help if I can. So
yes.
For sure.
Well, you are. You're helping by being here, and you're helping by donating books, and we really appreciate it. I received a copy of your book, Strangled, this week, and I am already about a fourth through it. And this is just on my spare time. I can't put this book down, people. Donate.
It's a hard topic, but it's important. So I'm glad you're reading it. Thank you for that.
I have to say, not only can't he put that book down, but there have been a lot of cases that we've talked about that he will say, this is like the Sheila Shepherd case. This is similar. And what LaDonna wrote in this kind of is making me think about some of the elements of this. So, and I don't want to make you think that I did not order your book. He ordered your book through another source, a bookstore that is called Barnes and Noble. And I thought I was going to expedite it by going through the usual Amazon, but Amazon has failed me once again. So I don't want you to think that I did not order your book. But anyway, it's ordered.
Well, thank you for ordering it. I would have sent it to you, but thank you for ordering it. But yeah, it's in it.
Gotta support you. Gotta
exactly.
You know, yeah.
Well, thank you.
But anyway, he's been saying, I can't wait till you read this because you are going to start seeing these things that we have seen in other cases that we're covering.
Yeah, it's I read your email today and talking about the Shepherd case, and I did want to know more about that for sure. And one of the things that we've done because of Strangled, we also launched a podcast, and in that first season, we're talking specifically about death fantasy, death fetish, and related murders because of that online community. And you would just be astounded to know how many thousands of people are into this and spend hours a day online looking at this and then go off to commit real murder. And so it's been terrifying, but I think it's an important topic. I think people don't want to talk about it. It's a little bit taboo. You're talking about, a fetish that's, obviously related to, a sexual desire, but it's work that I feel very, very compelled to complete because there are just so many young women who have been murdered because of it.
Yeah, it's definitely much more of an industry than I had any idea about. This death fetish community and industry, and this isn't just like bondage, like fun in the bedroom stuff. This is like really dark and disturbing dark web stuff, illegal photographs and videos, and in some cases, and things like that. So, yeah, it is a world that I had never really heard of before, except in our conversation the first time we spoke, LaDonna, for Crawlspace. But now that I'm reading the book, I'm understanding much more of what that conversation was about, and yeah, like Lance said, really looking at cases in a different way, especially Sheila Shepherd's Unsolved Murder, which, yeah, we had gotten some comments about. Actually, I think they were more like private emails. We can go over that privately, but I think they were more like private emails. I won't say they were anything creepy. It was just more like, hey, you should investigate that link, I think is how they kind of went, if I recall correctly.
Well, I think one of the things too that's important, and let's take that offline. I want to know more about that case and just that correspondence that you've had, is that a lot of law enforcement agencies aren't aware that these online communities exist. And some of them are on the dark web for sure. But there are communities like this that you can access through a Google search, just regular internet. And it's really scary to know what is out there. But it is contributing to so much violent crime, violence against women specifically. It does happen against men, but it's primarily women. So, our podcast, that goal is just to kind of expose that in this season. It's almost like fringy true crime, because people do not want to talk about this. But it's important that we get it out there. So
I can't agree with you more, because the act of committing these crimes is gruesome and brutal and without any empathy. And for whatever reason, we're more comfortable talking about the aftermath and the crime itself. We're more comfortable talking about the crime itself and the aftermath, and we're less comfortable talking about the subjects that you are exploring in Strangled, and this community, this death fetish community, where it isn't just like a sexual bondage thing. It isn't like recreational. This is like
Right.
deep-seated and dangerous, and for whatever reason we kind of we get weirded out about talking about that. But again, we can watch something on Netflix like the Dahmer series or whatever, and
exactly.
be totally good with like the extreme nature of that, but not actually, but be uncomfortable about like, well, how did that happen?
Well, and that's one of the things that I wanted to do through the book and through the podcast is normalize. Let's talk about these things that are contributing to violence, that are contributing to murder, that are scary things, because this isn't normal stuff. This is primarily men, and there are some women involved, but it's primarily men who are glorifying the murder of young women. And that should scare the heck out of all of us. That's allowed to happen. And each state has different laws, but there are federal obscenity laws, and that's one of the things that my co-host and I are really working on, is helping to educate people on federal obscenity laws and what we can do to put teeth in them and to demand that these producers that are making these films and the consumers that are purchasing these films are held accountable, because most of these films are federally illegal. But if you don't know that it exists, you're not going to go after it. And you'd be so surprised at how many law enforcement agencies across the United States don't even know that it exists. I mean, we've been making a lot of phone calls, turning people in, and lots of undercover work. And so it's important, and it is something I want to talk about. It's just, like I said, I think I've said it a couple times, it's uncomfortable, but it's critical that people understand.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Definitely an angle of crime that really I have not heard before. So I do appreciate it, and some of the facts you're writing about in the book, very, very disturbing. And even in the email you wrote, a lot more prevalent in murder cases than we realize, this kind of community. So I think you're probably right. And even though I don't have any experience with it, but what I want to know from you is, you are a private investigator and you started investigating cases, the Melissa Witt case, before you were a private investigator. And so you've seen life both before and after becoming one. So how are those experiences different?
I think, well, there's several different ways to explain that. But for me, being an advocate for Melissa Witt, for those who don't know, she was murdered in 1994, 19-year-old college student. And basically in my own backyard, about an hour away from where I currently live. And that case just really grabbed me. She and I have friends in common, although we didn't know each other. And so jumped in and advocated for that case, and actually, as a civilian, built a relationship with law enforcement and did a lot to actually help propel the case and get it into the media. And it was unique because even then, without being a private investigator, they actually did embrace me being a part of that case. This particular department did, and I know that's kind of rare. But what I've seen since I've continued to work on the case, I'm 8 years in, and I'm about 2 years into having my license to be an investigator. I see that more opportunities have opened up. There are more agencies that want help in this area and have actually sought that out from me. And so I think that it's been a good experience for me, because I can use what I've learned from the Witt case, from what I had to do to get the PI license, to really kind of dive in and to help other families, other cases. I think it's important. Because in my experience, it's opened more doors for me with law enforcement and other investigating agencies now that I do have my PI license. It just so happened I was in a unique situation before, and the Fort Smith Police Department went ahead and let me be involved. So it's been a good experience. It's I hope it's going to be able to help a lot of people. That's the goal.
I mean, you just
What
appearing here.
psychological factors- I'm sorry. What
Go ahead,
psychological
Bruce.
factors have you found, having not read, I obviously haven't read your book yet, but what has led people to be that depraved? Is there any kind of commonalities or something you found, or
No, we haven't. And one of the things I want to say, it's kind of answering your question in a really strange way, but I promise I'll get around to it, is that we've been doing undercover work in these communities online with the blessing of law enforcement. And we have a lot of criticism, and I giggle when I say that, because people within the death fetish community, they're pissed off. They found out that we're exposing them, and they're saying, oh, this is harmless. What we're doing is no big deal. It's okay that we want to pretend to murder people, but for the most part, we're not really going to do it. And it just so happens that people that are also in this community go off and kill people. So I reject that. I think when you spend 8, 10, 15 hours a day, and some of these people do, just immersing yourself in this culture of let's kill young women, I think you have to go into that, Bruce, already with this mindset that maybe there are some, issues that need to be addressed from a therapist, or maybe you just already have this predisposition for murder. because these are literally these online communities of men, and I keep saying men, I don't want to just pick on men, but it is primarily men who are saying, I want to see a woman drowned, hung, shot, strangled, and they want to see photos and movies about this. And so I think it takes someone who really does want to hurt people to go and be a part of these communities, and maybe they're not going to have the bravery to do it right now, but they're spending so much time online and seeing these images and thinking about it that what I have seen is then they eventually do go and act, because I've got case after case after case on my desk of young women who have been murdered because of these predators, and that's what I call them, that have spent this time glorifying the murder of young girls. And it's usually young girls. Like, they're very rarely do you see an older woman. It's like younger, teenage, early 20s. It's just really sick stuff that I am determined to put a stop to it. I mean, to the best of my ability, to get some federal obscenity laws changed and to get some of these these producers prosecuted. And I just think it's critical. And I think what we'll find out is that a lot of these cases that we can't find resolution to, some of these girls that we know that were into modeling, I've got about 9 of those on my case right now. I think we're going to find that there was a true connection to real live instances where these girls were killed by producers who were filming what started out to be death simulation films that turned into a real snuff film. And it has to stop. And I'm on a soapbox, and I realize that.
No. Like, what's the problem that happens is the producers will stand behind freedom of speech or something like that, and it's like, that's not, no. Like, you can't. There has to be some parameter that, or some line that you cannot cross, that cannot be freedom of speech. Because if you are a creative individual and you're saying that this is your freedom of speech and you're being creative and you're producing something, stop it. Like,
Right.
no one believes that. Like, if you're creative, you can make something else. You can use
Right.
your brain and make something else that's not the exploitation and glorification of and sexualization of a young girl. Like, you can do something else.
Well,
You
absolutely.
can make a buck somewhere else.
And you've got, so each state has different laws, and like in Oregon, this stuff isn't illegal. Like, you can do it there. Now, it does still cross over with some of the federal obscenity laws. And so we're really having to take this case by case. So what we're doing through our podcast to kind of help shine a light on that is that we're pulling business licenses that are public of these producers. And we're saying, hey, Salem, Oregon, we'd like to introduce you to this man that's in your community. This is his name, and this is what he's doing. And of course, they don't like that, but it's perfectly legal. And if you're going to pretend to kill my sister's mother, daughter's friends, I'm going to expose you. And so we've worked really hard on that. And then just really kind of understanding the laws. But Lance, the real way to get these producers is if they're using PayPal or a credit card company, we can get them shut down. And we've gotten, I would say, a few sites have gone down because of our work, which I think is, we love that. We celebrate that. But a lot of what we have to do is go and alert the credit card companies and alert PayPal, because they won't allow that. And, the larger mainstream porn companies like Pornhub and places like that, they won't touch this stuff. They do want it off of their site. Even they kind of say, hey, that's too much for me. And so say what you will about pornography in general. I'm talking about this stuff that you're pretending to murder a young girl for sexual satisfaction. No, that's not freedom of speech. That we've got to stop that. So.
Yeah. And pornography is a business. There, as much as it looks like it's a free for all and a wild time, like there are very strict guideposts that are in place for adult performers, which has nothing to do with what you're talking about. What you're talking about is just depraved people trying to work themselves into that community to say, well, they're doing this. Like, how is this any different? Good for you.
Yeah.
Contacting where the money's coming from, how the money is getting to them.
Yeah, they don't like me very much, but I don't
Really?
care. I don't
Weird.
like them very much, and that's just what I keep saying, And when we got into the business of exposing them through our podcast, we knew that we were going to have some backlash. And I think I talked to you guys about that last time. The death threats, the things that they're trying to do to scare me. But I think that we scare them more because we're saying, hey, we're not hiding behind a screen name. This is my real name, my face. This is where I live, and I'm coming after you because I'm not going to stand for this. And so, we've seen these kind of efforts be successful in like the UK. There was a young woman named Jane Longhurst that was murdered there by what we call a fetisher. That's a death fetisher. And her mom was very successful with getting law changed and to really expose just what is happening with the death fetish community. And so we're trying to really pick up the torch from what work she did and also do that. And, I never thought that this would be a platform that I would be so passionate about, but this was a real tip that came in the Melissa Witt case. And as I chased that down, and I realized how horrible this was, and I realized that some of our missing young women across the United States could be connected to this, I said, no, I'm going to do something about this for sure. So here I am preaching like that, but I want people to be aware.
Well,
Okay,
good. Thank you.
That makes me cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, for doing this work, I'm sure it's not comfortable, and but so I do feel like someone has to take this dive, and like you said, it's kind of got to be public. Like if the police do it, that's great, but like it stays within that department or within that even that detectives, orbit. And then, what good is that for other cases? So I do feel like this is shining a light on a deep, dark corner of the internet that really should not exist.
I agree. If I just want to add one more thing. One of the things that I think a message that needs to be sent is that we've had some families contact us and say, hey, do you think my daughter's missing persons case could be connected to this? And of course, then we try to dive in and find out. And one of the things that happen is these young girls are taken advantage of. They get sucked into this believing it's not going to be a death fetish pornography, that it may just be, I'm going to take pictures of you, or maybe they're just topless photos or whatever. And then we see that these producers then trick them into other things or force them into it. And so I think that's an important message for parents to consider if they think, hey, I've had so and so's been missing for 15 years. I think maybe she was into modeling. I hope they will reach out to us. Those are cases that we are marking as priority and trying to look into that and work with law enforcement to see if there's any connection.
Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you for the work.
Yeah, very interesting work. Yeah, thank you so much, LaDonna, for sharing a little bit about your story. Is there anything else that you'd like to say here tonight?
I just want everybody to donate to this amazing cause. So I hope that they do. I hope that they're watching, and I'm going to try to get my friends to do the same. So yeah, I want to support it any way I can. So thank you for having me here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and your work. Go get strangled, donate, and you may win one, or if not, go check out LaDonna's site and order yourself a copy, just like me and Lance did this week.
Thanks, guys.
I swear I did. I'll show you the receipt.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Great work.
We're
Bye.
all in the battle here, We're all in the same team battling the same type of different stuff.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we have once again come to the end of one of our live fundraisers.
What's the final tally here?
Yeah. What are we at?
All right, so with everything total is $5,415, and that includes donations directly to the campaign that we have set up, and donations through the website. We've had people tonight go on directly to the website and donate as well.
Oh, that crowd, they're pumped up.
They are.
You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, the crowd's so loud back here.
Couldn't hear you.
No, I was talking. It's the crowd.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, this has been great joining with you all again tonight, and our guests, our lovely guests, and everybody in the chat room, and everybody who donated. It's been a lovely night once again.
Absolutely. And yeah, we are not going to have this be the only one that we'll be doing this year. There'll be more. And there's even a potential, Aaron, there's even a potential for a 5K that we're going to be doing sometime this year, probably in the late summer, maybe autumn. I don't know, but that's in the works. So keep your ears open for that, your eyes and ears peeled for that, because we're going to try to figure out every single way that we can in order to raise money for this wonderful nonprofit.
Definitely. We have a few things in the works.
Oh, you shouldn't have laughed, people. Sorry.
Laughing. But, yeah, we have a few things in the works, and hopefully they all happen this year and people continue to donate. And we have a couple of days left open on this campaign.
True.
So, you know, PIFTM.org/give.
That's right.
And you can donate directly to the campaign, or you can always go right to our website, and there's a PayPal donation there. And I know that John Lorden said he would also be continuing to collect donations through February 3rd. So we'll have donations coming in from him as well.
Fantastic.
Unless he just skips town with them and heads to Costa Rica.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Bruce. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Good night, everyone.
We appreciate it. Good night, Erin. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate it. We will be back soon, and we will have updates on Lance's new tattoo.
Yes. There'll be updates on that. And yeah, that's all I got. Thanks everybody who joined on the YouTube channel. All of our guests, you're fantastic, working with us through the green room lobby confusion there. Thanks for bearing with us on that. Yeah, till next time. Way to go, people. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.